Hello everyone, Toby here. Welcome back to the Football Collectibles channel. We are back once again with another Topps F1 Turbo Attax video. And today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. And we're going to be using the cards to rate our drivers in this collection from number 20 to number 1 as to who we thought had the best season in Formula 1 in 2022. So without further ado, let's get straight to the video. So here we are then, we are back with another Turbo Attax video. And this won't be the last Turbo Attax video we do this year. We will have a couple more openings on the channel to come with a few little surprises mixed in. So yeah, do stay tuned for those. I know it's been a little while since we've done any Turbo Attax content on the channel. But yeah, we thought we'd do something a little bit different. So if you started this video and you want to kind of show your appreciation for it, then of course smash that like button. And while you're there, if you're new to the Football Collectibles channel, hit that subscribe button. And that way you will never miss a Formula 1 video on the channel. And trust me, there'll be plenty to come in 2023. So yeah, do not miss out on those. But yeah, we wanted to do something a little bit different. We wanted to rank the drivers. We wanted to give an honest, our honest take on who we felt performed well, who didn't have a good season in Formula 1 in 2022. Of course, this new generation of car, some drivers at different teams, lots going on in the season. So yeah, we thought we would do a bit of a review because we've seen some pundit reviews, and I'll be honest, some of the opinions I agree with, others I don't. So I thought, why not give it a go myself and do something a little bit different, because we're still waiting on some things to turn up in the post to be able to show you guys to open. So I thought we'd give this a go. So we're going to go from last to first, if you like, and we're going to start off with and we've kind of tried to choose a card fitting of, I guess, the driver's season. They're kind of what they've done, what they've achieved. So we're going to start things off in 20th place. Probably no surprises here with Nicholas Latifi of Williams. And we've gone with his hero base card because he turned up, he drove each weekend. He didn't meet really the kind of the level of his teammate at Williams though. And yes, he managed to score some points in Japan, but it wasn't a very good season for Nicholas Latifi at all. I think he was disappointed. I think it took him a while to get on top of the new generation of car. The Williams, yes, was very difficult to handle. Albon and De Vries, who also drove the car, said exactly the same. But he didn't have a good season, and unfortunately he's lost his seat for 2023. And I think possibly be the last time we see Nicholas Latifi in Formula 1. Might he go over to IndyCar? I don't know, but I think Nicholas, you know, he did a podcast recently and reflected and said it hadn't been a good season, and there's certainly things that he would do differently now. So yeah, Nicholas Latifi's going to start last in our rankings, unfortunately for him. But we're going to move things on, and this might be a little bit controversial. But in 19th place, we've gone for Daniel Ricciardo, who of course is another driver departing the grid at the end of 2022. McLaren contract terminated a year early. And he's going to Red Bull as a third driver there next season. I really hope he finds his mojo. He's spoken about that a lot, needing to find his mojo and love for the sport once again. So I really hope he does it. But 2022 for Daniel Ricciardo wasn't a good season. Comprehensively outperformed by Lando Norris at McLaren. And McLaren, yes, it wasn't great, but it was the 5th best car on the grid overall on, I guess, kind of performance. And he really should have done better, should have been a lot closer to Norris. I just couldn't get his finger on why he wasn't so good. But I've chosen his Epic Moments card because he, on his day, can still have and deliver a top moment. I really hope that isn't the last we've seen of Daniel Ricciardo on the grid full-time in Formula 1. So I've chosen an epic moment there for Ricciardo for his 19th position because I think there's more to come from Danny Ric in Formula 1, and he can produce epic moments. And on his day, he is up there with the likes of Verstappen, Hamilton, Leclerc as one of F1's top drivers. So hopefully we'll see him again. But he gets 19th position on the grid for this, unfortunately. And then we move on to Mick Schumacher, and I've chosen his Country Pride card right here. And he is only 18th in the rankings this year. Not a good year for Mick. Scored his first points in F1 positives in Austria and Great Britain. He picked up those points. And certainly at times showed real speed and consistency to get close to and even beat his teammate Kevin Magnuson. But that first part of the season, that crash at Saudi Arabia in particular, it forced him to miss the Grand Prix that he sustained in qualifying. Really kind of set the tone for his season. Too many mistakes, too many crashes, and Haas weren't really prepared to take a risk on him for 2023. Do I think this is the last we've seen of Mick Schumacher in Formula 1? Absolutely not. He'll be back on the grid at some point. I believe he's going to be a reserve driver for Mercedes next season, and I'm sure he'll learn a lot there. So, and be a valuable asset to the team as well, I'd like to point out too. But I've chosen his country pride because he has been the pride of of Germany, the German media in particular. And with the new Audi entry in 2026, I really believe that he will be in F1, and he's a driver that I think can get podiums and win races in the future as well. He just needs to be in the right place at the right time, correct some of those mistakes, and I'm sure he will be there in the future. But yeah, 2022, unfortunately, hasn't been a great year for Mick, despite his first points. Those crashes, that one in Japan as well towards the end of the season, just wasn't good, and I think that cost him a seat to fellow countryman Nico Hülkenberg for next season. We have next gone for Lance Stroll in 17th position in the rankings. And now, this might be controversial because Aston Martin finished 7th in the standings and had a dismal car at the start of the year, but he was comprehensively outperformed by Sebastian Vettel, I felt, over the course of the season. And he just wasn't consistent enough. He wasn't on the pace enough. And he just underwhelming a little bit. And he's going to really, I think, struggle next year against Fernando Alonso. Alonso is a sensational driver, and I think he'll really struggle next year with the Canadian. However, I chose his speedster card because in the wet, as usual, Stroll was quick. He was very, very quick. He just needs to be able to find a way to transfer that wet form into dry running. And, we know what he's capable of. He's got podiums. He's got a pole position in Formula 1. He just needs to transfer and transform that form for the better. But unfortunately, I think next year's really going to be a make or break year for Lance Stroll. He'd have been in the sport by then. I think it will be probably season number, 2017 was his debut. So 4 or 5, be his 6th season in Formula 1, I think, next year. So, or 7th season. So he's really got a lot to do now, Lance Stroll, to prove himself, I think, as a valuable asset. And yes, his dad owns a team, but I don't think that will guarantee him a seat long term if he's not performing, because Aston Martin will want to continue to progress. So it'll be interesting to see how he does next year. But yeah, just flew under the radar a lot this year as well. I can't lie. He really did. But there we go. That is Lance Stroll. In number 16, we have got Zhou Guanyu of Alfa Romeo. Of course, the only rookie on the grid full-time this year, Zhou Guanyu, and had a solid season, to be fair, up against Valtteri Bottas. Scored some points, made progress as the season went on, and I think next year will be I'll see if he really cuts the mustard in Formula 1, or whether it was a good start and Bottas raises his level again. But he's done well. He scored some points. Obviously had that horrible crash at Silverstone, but recovered from that quite well. And the Alfa Romeo, to be fair, performance-wise, really tailed off in the second half of the season. Wasn't really anywhere near point-scoring contention. So, it'd be interesting to see how he does next year. But he gets number 16 on the grid for me. Number 15, we've got Kevin Magnuson. And I've chosen his superstar card because K-Mag has been a superstar many times this season, but not consistently enough for my liking. So, obviously, that first race back with literally I think it was a day or two of testing, K-Mag scored points, I think it was a 5th place for Haas on his return to Formula 1, and he did fantastic and got that Brazilian Grand Prix pole position on the Friday in the rain. Really, made the most of the conditions, took his chance. But I think he's coasted a bit this year, Kevin Magnuson. Had chances probably to score a few more points and push on a little bit harder, and has got caught up in some instances and incidents across the season as well with some other drivers that I think he could have avoided and he probably was at fault for. So he gets 15 for me. Test for him will be how he fares against Nico Hülkenberg. It'll be a fiery pairing, no doubt. So it'll be interesting to see how he does there. We then move on to Yuki Tsunoda. And I don't know whether I've ranked Yuki a little bit low or it's about right, really. But I think Yuki Tsunoda has certainly matured as a Formula 1 driver this year. It's been a difficult car to drive, that Alpha Tauri, but I think he's done well. I think he's done a good job. I think he's shown maturity. Next year will be make or break as to whether he's really going to stay in Formula 1. Obviously, got the Honda backing, which helps with the Red Bull partnership. But good season, a few flashes of brilliance and good driving, but not really probably had the machinery to really show his true level this year. So he gets position at number, I think it's 13 or 14 on the grid. I can't remember now. We've then gone for Alex Albon. And Albon right here had I think a very good season for Williams. Just misses out on that top 10 for me, but had a very good season for Williams. And he performed very, very well in a very average car. Got a couple of point scoring races, which is fantastic. And yeah, I've chosen his off the track card this year because I think some of the things he did off the track have really helped him on the track. Obviously, had that year out of the sport as well. And I just think that, yeah, Alex Albon gave a really good account of himself this season, developed nicely into a team leader, and used that time he had off the track in 2021 to his advantage. And I think he'll take Williams from strength to strength next year. And I think Williams, if they get the car right, Albon will take every opportunity that comes to get points for that team. So it'll be exciting to see how he does next season. We've then gone for Pierre Gasly, and we've chosen his gold limited edition card because Pierre Gasly, on his day, is gold. He is gold. He's a fantastic driver who can really put in a stellar performance. Again, machinery that hasn't really suited him this year. He's really struggled, and I just think that, yeah, it's not quite worked for him at AlphaTauri this year, but he's still been consistent. He's really tried in that car, really done some different things. A couple of good performances, got some points, again led the way from his teammate in points, all the gap closed, still very much led the way against an ever competitive Tsunoda. So that's why I've gone for Pierre Gasly's card there. And then just missing out on a place in the top 10 in position number 11 is Sebastian Vettel. Seb had a great season in that Aston Martin car, really led the team in a positive way. Some of his actions off the track as well, and the way he conducted himself have been superb as usual. He drove fantastically for Aston Martin. I've chosen his Hall of Fame card because, of course, he's retiring and he's an all-time F1 great. He really is. 4-time world champion. Only Fangio, Schumacher and Hamilton have more world championships than Sebastian Vettel. I think it's 53 Grand Prix victories. A truly modern icon of Formula One, and will ever have a place in the F1 Hall of Fame. So Seb, some brilliant drives. Of course, missed the start of the season through COVID as well, so had catching up to do. And he did a superb job, and he really drove Aston Martin up the grid with their development. He helped them develop the car really, really well. And I think another race or two, and they'd have finished above Alfa Romeo in the constructor standings. So from where they were to finish 7th, I think was a good job, and I'm sure Seb will be missed by everyone in the sport. So we've gone with his Hall of Fame card for there. Now we get into the top 10. Valtteri Bottas. It's probably based on his first half of the season form, because he tailed off a bit like the Alfa Romeo team in general. But saying that, he did perform well in Mexico and certainly in qualifying towards the end of the season. But gone for his idol card, because if Bottas is a bit of an idol, if you've seen what he's done off the track since the season finished as well, I just thought I have to go for his idol card. What a legend he is. But yeah, Valtteri Bottas, strong start to the season, was up there competing with his former team Mercedes in the Alfa Romeo at the beginning of the season, really maximising the potential of the car. And he scored 54 points in the season, which is a solid effort for a team that didn't score too many points. And really, it was his, I think it was his 5th place in Imola earlier in the season that guaranteed that they finished above Aston Martin on in terms of highest position scored in the season. So he did a great job, really developed well into that team leader role, I felt, as the season went on. Really good with Zhou Guanyu as well, trying to help him. I don't know if you saw in Brazil, he was some little bits over team radio where he was noticing other cars doing things that he felt that could benefit Zhou in terms of attacking them. So really good to see, and it'll be interesting to see how Bottas does next season if they give him a competitive car, because he is a fantastic driver on his day. So I thought he deserved a top 10. And we've gone for 9th, Esteban Ocon, and we've gone for his hero card, like Nicholas Latifi, however, for very different reasons. We've gone for the hero card because we feel he's a bit of a hero for Alpine. He was super consistent for them. On days where Alonso's car failed or things weren't quite going their way, he was still there scoring points, and he outscored Fernando Alonso this year. Obviously, the reliability played a factor, but Ocon really did a good job, and worth every penny of that long-term contract that they gave him. And showed a bit of a hot-headed side, shall we say, at times, particularly in Brazil when he clashed with his teammate. But he did a good job, Ocon, this season, and scored some solid points and really played a huge role in securing that 4th place for the team in the Constructors' Championship. So that is why he is position number 9. We've got position number 8 here, and it is Sergio Perez. I'm going for his race winner card from 2021 because Perez won 2 very, very good Grand Prix where he dominated in Monaco and Singapore. He was in a league of his own in both of those Grand Prix. He was simply superb, those 2 street track races. But only an 8 for me because his team won the championship. He didn't manage to secure 2nd in the Drivers' Championship, and his teammate won 15 races to his 2. So he was comprehensively beaten in that machinery by Max Verstappen. So I felt that it could only go for that card for Perez. A few too many incidents as well at times that just cost him valuable points, I feel. Scrapping in areas that he didn't need to, and obviously then the fallout towards the end of the season with his teammate as well. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year for him next year, but he gets 8th position for me. And then, perhaps this is slightly controversial now, Norris only 7th, considering he scored the bulk of McLaren's points. But I've gone for his 100 club because I think Norris is someone that performed to the maximum potential of that car. He really, really did well. He was super consistent in it. He led that McLaren team. Considering he's the younger driver, he really led that team forwards this year. And he just did a superb job, I really feel. That podium in Imola was absolutely sensational, really, really was. The only podium McLaren scored all season. And he kept them in the fight with Alpine right to the very death of the season. So he did a superb job. He's a star of the future, no doubt about it. It's just when he gets that race-winning car, can he maximise it? Are McLaren going to give him one in the near future? That'd be interesting to see. But super consistent. And I thought for that consistency, 100 Club was deserving because he as I said, reached the absolute potential of that car. Why perhaps he didn't place higher? I think a few other drivers had a few more outstanding moments in the season. Maybe he flew under the radar a little bit just because he was driving to the consistent potential of that car, and maybe he's no more other than that capitalising that podium in Imola. So yeah, that's why he gets position number 7. And we've then gone for someone that I think I possibly even could have put higher. And I've gone for his diamond car because I think Carlos Sainz is a little bit of a rough diamond in 6th position. And I feel the season really came towards him. And I feel that he probably ended the season as Ferrari's stronger driver, certainly in the second half of the season. If it wasn't for unreliability, his car in particular, I think he'd have been a bit closer to Charles Leclerc, and I'd really like to see him give a good go for a title because I think he's a superb driver. Some of the decisions he made, the British Grand Prix, he won that race because he overruled the Ferrari pit wall. He told them what he wanted to do, and his strategy won Ferrari that race, and he was instrumental in it. And there's been a few other occasions this season where he's made those calls for Ferrari where they've struggled, and I feel that, yeah, he's a very good season. Not quite enough to beat Leclerc, but he is getting closer and closer. And as I said, I think he ended the season, or certainly that second half of the season, on paper was probably Ferrari's stronger driver. So Carlos Sainz gets that position there for me. And then we move into our top 5. And I have gone for the man himself, Lewis Hamilton, the 7-time world champion in 5th position. Another strong season from Lewis. Just unfortunately couldn't have that opportunity really to win a race this season. The car wasn't really good enough, all but one circuit, and his teammate was just on superb form that day. But Hamilton, super elite, because he still is super elite. No one write this man off. He is absolutely superb. He rinsed that car to its absolute potential. Again, had it not been for a few little issues, and I think he was trying a lot of different strategies earlier in the season to try and get that car into a good performance window to try and salvage something of the season, I think he'd have scored probably more points. He had that superb run of podiums as well during the middle of the season from kind of the Canadian Grand Prix onwards as well. So Hamilton, as solid a season as ever. Don't write this man off. Mercedes, give a good car next year. He'll be in the championship fight, and I'd put my money on him to win it if Mercedes have a race-winning car, because even if it's not the quickest car on the grid, if it's a consistent race-winning car, Lewis Hamilton will get that extra 5%, that extra 10% to raise his level to be the best on the grid. He is that good, and I can't wait to see what Lewis and Mercedes can do next year. But he gets 5th position for me. Just not enough. If he got a race win, then maybe he would have beaten his teammate this season in these rankings, but just not enough for me to get the nod on George Russell, who's still to come. But in 4th position, and perhaps a little bit controversially, it's Charles Leclerc. Now, some people have put him higher, some people put 2nd and 3rd in theirs, but for me, Charles Leclerc in 4th position, it's a season of what could have been for Leclerc. Early race wins, I think, really kind of give him this position in particular. He was dominant earlier in the season. That superb defending in Bahrain from Max Verstappen was absolutely superb, as was his drive in Australia. It was absolutely awesome, that race, as was his dominant victory in Austria. But Ferrari red, I've gone for the Ferrari red card for Charles Leclerc because Ferrari, what went wrong? I think he kind of, some of the decision making that Ferrari did and some of the reliability issues that they had kind of really cost him that chance of a championship battle right to the end. And I think he suffered as a result of that. So I thought Ferrari Red Limited Edition would be the card to go for this to showcase Charles Leclerc. So we'll put him down just there as our 4th place driver. In third position, we have gone for Fernando Alonso, and we've taken his Trackmaster card because, quite frankly, stick him on a track like Barcelona where he started at the back of the grid, he ended up in the points in 2022. And Alonso, again, a little bit like Hamilton, people write him off with age, people say that he's past his best, his team didn't want to renew his contract, and I think the second half of the season, it's the Fernando Alonso strongest that we've seen probably since 2012 in Formula 1. He's been superb. He really, really has. Super consistent. Reliability let him down so often. But I think Alonso, had he been in a car that had even a sniff of winning a race, he'd have got a victory, or certainly a podium finishing car. He'd have been on the podium consistently. He is that good. And I'll be really excited to see what he does at Aston Martin. I don't think they'll be on the pace at the beginning, but I don't think it'll be long before Alonso takes them towards the front of the grid. He's a superb driver, he really, really is. And just another solid season. I think he deserves recognition for that. And I think he was probably, overall, the third best driver on the grid this season. Very few incidents across the season at all, other than, as I said, that little incident at Brazil with his teammates. He's he's a superb driver, world-class driver. And I think you put him in a championship-winning car, Alonso would eventually get that third world title that he so desperately craves. But yeah, great to see him sticking around for a few more years yet. In second place, and perhaps a little bit of bias, but I've gone for young George Russell here. Mr. Sunday, as he's kind of become known across the course of the season. Of course, got that fantastic pole position at the Hungarian Grand Prix out of the blue. Mercedes couldn't believe their luck. But of course, as well, he got that fantastic victory in Brazil. And I've gone for his Master versus Apprentice card because, quite simply, Russell was up against the Master. He very much was the apprentice, and he was more than a match for him. Arguably, second half of the season, Hamilton outperformed him, but Russell put in some really good performances at the start of the season to really put himself in a commanding position in the championship. At one point, it even looked like he might be in, of course, for second. But the car just kind of went away from him, I think, a little bit. But he got that win in Brazil dominant. He held Hamilton back, which is why he ranks above Hamilton for me. That was a superb, mature drive. And nearly 2 years to the day, he lost that victory in Bahrain due to the tyre issue and the puncture. He got that victory in Brazil, and I think it'll be the first of many for George Russell and the Mercedes in Formula 1. And Hamilton's got his work cut out next year, because if they've got a championship-winning car, Russell will be there and thereabouts. So it'll be really interesting to see how he does next year when Hamilton's up against him once again. But yeah, I felt he was second. I thought he was superb across the season. One or two issues, one or two incidents, but he's a real superstar. And I just think he was super, super good in a very underperforming car, and really maximised the most of it when Mercedes could. So hats off to George. He was superb, deserved race winner, and can't wait to see what he does in the future. But the final card, I've gone for a rather special card here, and it's his autograph edition from the Indian version. The cards will feel the same though, feel same texture and same card quality as the rest of the cards. I managed to pick this up, an autograph edition Max Verstappen, and I've gone for this because they're rare cards, and Max Verstappen, I think this is one of those rare seasons you're just going to take hat off to a driver and say, wow, he was in another league of his own, Max Verstappen. 15 Grand Prix victories, beating the record held equally by Schumacher and Vettel. Of course, different number of races when they set those records, Verstappen more opportunity, but 15 Grand Prix out of 22 is a superb record, and Max Verstappen now holds that record, and he was just another level. Super driver, dominant, won that championship in Japan. He just went into weekends, and there's a bit more of a mature Verstappen, I think, as well. Very more mature in his driving, very mature in the way he handled himself. Yes, a few hot-headed moments early in the season when the car wasn't quite there, but he had a great season, and he's a two-time world champion, and I think maybe others made it a little bit easier for him, but he dominated his teammate. He led that team. He led Red Bull to their first Constructors' title since 2013. He was amazing, and I think all credit should go to Verstappen for that. And it'll be really interesting to see how he does next year with, of course, a couple of limitations that Red Bull will be working to as well. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. But guys, that is my rank of 1 to 20. Let me know what you think. And of course, stay tuned for some more Turbo Attax openings on the channel. But subscribe to the channel if you're new. Smash the like button if you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more videos like this in the future. And of course, see you in some future openings. But until next time, guys, it's goodbye.